Hello and welcome. And today we're gonna discuss about the Atomic Habit. This book written by James Clear. And here is the topics that we have here. Now, first let me single page. So this is the book cover page. Now this book have 285 pages, and each and there are almost uh, many good things is need to discuss on this. Now let's first talk about this title page. Now, first is Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad one. James Clear, the tiny changes, remarkable result. So, copyright by an imprint of Penguin Random House LLC. So, they hold that copyright. And just here we're gonna discuss the book, how good it is, and what the content it's all about. And you're gonna read this book first, one by one, so you can play this book. You can use it as a audio book, and if you want to see the screen, obviously you are welcome. Or it will show you. So, copyright 2018 by James Clear, and Penguin supports copyright fuel creativity and encourage drives voice, promote free speech, and create a vibrant culture. Thank you for buying an authorized edition of this book and for complying with copyright law by not reproducing, scanning, or distributing any part of it in any form without permission. You are supporting writers and allowing Penguin to continue to publish book for every reader. Now, while the author has made every effort to provide accurate internet address at the time of publications, neither the publishers nor the author assume any responsibility for error or for changes that occurred after publication. Further, the publication does not have any control over and does not assume any responsibility for author or third party websites or their content. So this is the copyright part, and let's move on to part epigraphs. Okay, atomic, then extremely small amount of things, the single irreducible unit of a large system, the source of immense energy or power. Our habit is a routine or a practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. Automatic response of a specific situation. Mm, okay, now come to the content page. First, we read the title page and we read the copyright page. Now, we read also epigraph, like the epigraph is the definition of atomic habit meaning. And now, let's move on to our introduction, the my story part, where author will share some story. So, first, let's go to that introductory part. So, and obviously we have lots of things in the discussion, like the content that we have, the fundamentals, first law, second law, third law, and fourth law, and then advanced tactics. So before we move on to that, let's start the introduction. And on the final day of my sophomore year of high school, okay, he used to study in this sophomore year of high school, I was hit in the face with a baseball bat. As my classmate took a full swing, the bat slipped out of his hand and came fly towards me before striking me directly between the eye. I have no memory of the moment of impact,
The bat smashed into my face with such a force that it crushed my nose into a distorted U shape. The collision sent the soft tissue of my brain slumming into the inside of my skull. Immediately, a wave of swelling surged throughout my head. In a fractions of a second, I had a broken nose, multiple skull fracture, and two shattered eye sockets. When I opened my eye, I saw people starting at me and running over to help. I looked down and noticed spot of red on my clothes. Spots of red on my clothes. One of my classmates took the shirts off his back and handed it to me. I used it to plug the stream of blood rushing from my broken nose. Shocked and confused, I was unaware of how seriously I had been injured. My teacher looped his arm around my shoulder and we began to long walk to the nurse's office, across the field, down the hill, and back into school. Random hands touched my side, holding me upright. We took our time and walked slowly. Nobody realized that every minute mattered. When we arrived at the nurse's office, she asked me a serious question. What years is it? 1998, I answered. It was actually 2002. Who is the President of the United States? When we arrived at the nurse's office, she asked me a serious question. What year is it? 1998. I answered. It was actually 2002. Who is the President of the United States? Bill Clinton. I said the correct answer was Roger George Washington Bush. What is your mom's name? I stilled. 10 seconds passed. Betty, I said casually, ignoring the fact that it had taken me 10 seconds to remember my own mother's name. That is the last questions I remember. My body was unable to handle the rapid swelling in my brain and I lost consciousness consciousness before the ambulance arrived. Minutes later, I was carried out of school and taken to the local hospital. Shortly after arriving, my body began shutting down. I struggled with basic functions like swallowing and breathing. I had my first seizure of the day. Then I stopped breathing entirely as the doctor hurried to supply me with oxygen. They also decided the local hospital was unequipped to handle the situations and ordered to helicopter to fly me to a large hospital in Cincinnati. Wow. I was rolled out of my emergency room doors and towards the helipad across the street. The stretch rattled on a bumpy sidewalk on as one nurses pushed me along while another pumped each breath of me into me by hand. My mother, who had arrived at the hospital a few moments before climbing into the helicopter beside me, I remember unconscious and unable to breathe on my mom as she held my hand during the flight. While my mother rode with me in the helicopter, my father went home to check on my brothers and sisters and break the news to them. He choked back tears as he explained to my sister that he would miss her 8th grade graduation ceremony that night. After passing my siblings off to my family and friends, he drove to clinic Cincinnati to meet my mother. When my mom and I landed on the roof of the hospital. A team of nearly 20 doctors and nurses pained into the helipad and wheeled me into the trauma unit. By this time, the swelling in my brain had become so severe that I was having repeated post traumatic sneezes. My broken bones needed to be fixed, but I was in no condition to undergo surgery. After yet another seizure, my third of the day, I was put into a medically induced coma and placed on a ventilator. My parents were no strangers to this hospital. 10 years earlier, they had entered the same building on the ground floor after my sister was diagnosed with leukemia at the age 3. I was 5 at that time. My brother was just 6 months old. After 2.5 years of chemotherapy, treatment, spinal tap, and bone marrow biopsy, my little sister finally walked out of the hospital happily, healthy and cancer free. And now, after 10 years of normal life, my parents found themselves back in the same place with a different child. While I slipped into a coma, the hospital sent a priest and a social worker to comfort my parents. It was the same priest who had met with them a decade earlier on the evening they found out my sister had cancer. As day fades into night, a series of machines keep me alive. My parents slept restlessly on the hospital mattress. One moment they would collapse from fatigue, the next they would be wide awake with worry. My mother would tell me later it was one of the worst nights I have ever had. Now, this is a very critical injury as I face in my life, like as author face in their life, and this is really very traumatic situations. Now, how he recover? Let's listen. Let's focus on that story. Mercifully, by the next morning, my breathing had rebounded to the point where the doctor felt comfortable releasing me from the coma. When I finally regained consci- consciousness, I discovered that I had lost my ability to smell. As a test, a nurse asked me to blow my nose and sniff an apple juice box. My sense of smell returned, but to everyone's surprise, the act of blowing my nose forced air through the fractures in my eye sockets and pushed my left eye outwards. My eyeball blocked out of the socket, held precariously in place by my eyelid and the optic nerve attaching my eye to my brain. The ophthalmologist said my eye would gradually slide back into place as the air speeded out, but it was hard to tell how long this would take. I was scheduled for surgery 1 week later, which would allow me some additional time to heal. I took like I looked like I had been on the wrong end of a boxing match, but I was cleared to leave the hospital. I returned home with a broken nose, half a dozen facial fractures, and a Bludging left eye. The following months were hard. It felt like everything in my life was on pause. I had double visions for weeks. I literally could not see straight. It took more than a month, but my eyeball did eventually return to its normal locations. Between the seizures, and my vision's problem. It was 8 months before I could drive a car again. At physical therapy, I practiced basic motor patterns like walking in a straight line. I was determined not to let my injury get me down, but there were more than a few months when I felt depressed and overwhelmed. I became painfully aware on how far I had to go when I returned to the baseball field one year later. Baseball had always been a major part of my life. My dad had played minor league baseball for the St. Louis Cardinal, and I had a dream of playing professionally too. After months of rehabilitation, rehabilitations, what I want more than anything was to get back on the field. But my return to baseball was not smooth. When the Saints rolled loud around, I was the only injured to be cut from the varsity baseball team. I was sent down to play with the sophomores on injured varsity. I had been playing since age 4, and for someone who had spent so much time and efforts on the sports, getting cut and was humiliating. I vividly remember the day it happened. আমি পড়ছি মা একটু নেকাম কম করো. I sat in my car and cried as I flipped through the radio, desperately searching for a song that would make me feel better. After a year of self doubt, I am managing to make varsities, those varsity team as a senior. But I really made it on the field. In total, I play 11 innings of high school varsity baseball, barely more than a single game. Despite my lackluster high school career, I still believe I could become a great player, and I knew that if things were going to improve, I was the one responsible for making it happen. The turning point came 2 years after my injury when I began college at Denison University. Denison University. It was a new beginning, and it was the place where I would discover the surprising power of small habits for the first time. Hello, I learned about habit. Okay, how I learned about habit. Now, attending Denison was one of the best decisions of my life. I earned a spot on the baseball team, and although I was at the bottom of the roast as a freshman, I was thrilled despite the chaos of my high school years. I had managed to become a college athlete. I was not going to be starting on the baseball team anytime soon, so I focused on getting my life in order while my peers stayed up late and play video game. I built good sleep habits and went to bed early each night in the messy world of the college room. I made a point of to keep my room neat and tidy. Those improvements were minor, but they gave me a sense of control over my life. I started to feel confident again, and this growing belief in myself rippled into the classroom as I improved my study habits and managed to earn straight as during my first year. A habit is a routine or behavior that is performed regularly and in many cases automatically. As each semester passed, I accumulated small but consistent habits that ultimately led to results that were unimaginable to me when I started. For example, for the first time in my life, I made it a habit of lift weight multiple times per week, and in the year that followed, my 6 foot 4 inch frame bulk up from fit weight 170 to lean 200 pounds. When my sophomore sense arrived, I earned a straight role on the pitching staff. By my injured By my junior year, I was voted team captain, and at the end of the season, I was selected for the all conference team. But it was not until my senior session that my sleep habits, study habits, and strength training habits really began to pay off. 6 years after I had been hit in the face with a baseball bat, fallen to the hospital and placed into a coma, I was selected as the top male athlete at Denison University and named to the Aspen Academic All-American team, an honor gift to just 33 players across the country. By the time I graduated, I was listed in the school record books in 8 different categories. That same year, I was awarded the university's highest academic honor, the President's Medal. Wow! I was listed in the school record book in 8 different categories. The same year, I was awarded the university's highest academic honor and the President's Medal. I hope you will forgive me if this more sound boastful. To be honest, there was nothing legendary or historic about my athletic career. I never ended up playing professionally. However, looking back on those years, I believe I accomplished something just as rare. I fulfilled my potential, and I believe that concepts of this book can help you fulfill your potential as well. We all face challenges in life. This injury was one of mine, and the experience taught me a critical lessons. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you are willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with setback, run, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. With the same habits, you will end up with the same results, but with better habits, anything is possible. Maybe there are people who can achieve incredible success overnight. I don't know any of them, and I am certainly not one of them. There is not one defining moment. One My journey from medically induced coma to academic all America through there were many it was a gradual evolution, a long series of small wins and tiny breakthrough. The only way I made progress, the only choice I had, was to start small and employed this same strategy a few years later when I started my own business and began working with on this book. How and why I wrote this book. On November 2012, I began publish articles at jamesclear.com. For a year, I had been keeping notes about my personal experiments with habits, and I was finally ready to share some of them publicly. I began to publishing a new articles every month and Thursday. Within a few months, this simple writing habits led to my first 1000 email subscriber, and by the end of 2013 that number had grown to more than 30,000 people. In 2014 my email list expanded to over 100,000 subscribers, which made it one of the fastest growing newsletters on the internet. I had felt like an important when I began writing 2 years earlier, but now I was becoming known as an expert on habits, a new level that excited me but also felt uncomfortable. I had been considered myself a master of the topic, but rather someone who was experimenting alongside my readers. In 2015, I read 200,000 mail email subscription. I reached 200,000 email subscription and signed a book deal with Penguin Random House to begin writing the book you are reading now. As my audience grew, so did my business opportunity. I was increasingly asked to speak at top companies about the science of habit formations, behavior changes, and continue improvement. I found myself delivering keynote speech at conference in United States and Europe. In 2016, my article began to appear regularly in major publications like Times, Entrepreneur, Forbes. Incredibly, my writing was read by over 8 million people that year. Coaches in the NFL, NBA, MLB began reading my work and sharing it with their team. At the start of 2017, I launched the Habit Academy, which became the premier training platform for organizations and individuals interested in building better habits in life and work. Fortune 500 companies and growing start UPS began to enroll their leaders and train their staff. In our total, over 10,000 leaders, managed coaches, and teachers have graduated from the Habit Academy, and my work with them has taught me an incredible amount about what it takes to make habit work in the real world. As I put the finishing touch on this book in 2018, JamesClear.com is receiving millions of visitors per month and nearly 500,000 people subscribe to my weekly email newsletter, a number that is so far beyond my expectations when I began that I am not even sure what to do or to think of it. Now, this is about the introductory part and how this book will benefit you. Definitely, that is one thing that need to be talked. So, take some break, and after that, we will discuss about how this book will help or benefit you. Thank you.